Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our annual introduction to parents who are new to the school and for any of those who are looking for an update on our tracking, reporting and homework procedures here at Luckley House School. I will be presenting obviously live to our audience here today, but for those of you who are watching the recording, if you do have any questions that are not brought up by our audience here, please feel free to just drop me an email. And I'll be happy to discuss this with you. Also, what I've found in the past is lots of people start doing this process and they begin to find issues and problems with it. So again, if you have any problems, please don't feel concerned about just dropping me an email. Normally it's a very easy problem to sort out. It's highly effective, and when we get it working properly, and when I say we, I mean that's parents and pupils and staff as well, the sort of triangulation makes the whole thing really effective. So I'll look forward to working with you on this, and I hope you'll find the rest of this presentation informative. And in year 9s as well, when you came last January, I think it was, to do the entrance day test, if you've joined the school since then, they would have done the CAT tests as part of their entry requirements. You do this thing called the CAT tests, and then as a result of that, you get your minimum expected grades, which are the grades we will expect your child to achieve at GCSE. And I'll tell you a bit more about that later on. The second thing you will need is you'll need a parent Doddle key. Now, again, we'll send this to you. We'll send it all under one email. The parent Doddle key is a massive, big, long thing that no one can duplicate, and you really don't want to write it down. It's one of those things you copy and paste, and you paste it into the Doddle program. And what that does is that gives you as a parent access to Doddle, at which point you can see all the homework your child is being set. You can see their academic progress. You can't see anybody else other than your child. And I'll tell you how that looks like in a minute. If you are a year 7 or 8 parent, if you are a parent of a year 7 or 8 child, year 7 or 8 parent, that doesn't work, does it? If you're a parent of a year 7 or 8 child, the other thing we will send you is a OneNote homework link. As you may be aware, our homeworks for year 7 and 8 are mainly project-based. And what that link will enable you to see is all the projects available to your children, and what work they are doing. So it'll only give you a link to their project page. You can't see anybody else's, obviously for obvious reasons. For some reason, and I don't know why, those project OneNote links only last for 6 months. That's a Microsoft decision, so after 6 months we'll send you another one. If you find around about 6 months' time that you can't access your child's homework things, please let me know, because that's the time I go, right, I need to send another lot out, and I'll send another lot out. For the children, again, I haven't done this yet, but for all of our pupils, what I will do is once Doddle is up and running, I will go through the Doddle program with them so that they know what's on the Doddle program. They will be able to see slightly more in the Doddle program than you will be, and I'll explain that. But once they've got their Doddle login details, it's well worthwhile you sitting down with them and exploring the Doddle program together so that everybody knows. But again, when you get your Doddle stuff, you can assume that within the next 2 or 3 days, I would have done the Doddle update for the pupils. Okay, lovely. So just so you know, the left-hand side is what you will see when you go onto doddlelearn.co.uk. And I can't even see that, but at the top there it says login, and when you click login, it will take you to the right-hand page. And what you'll see on the right-hand page, no, I can't even make that work either. What you'll see on the right-hand page is you'll see the top 3 tabs. One says pupil, one says student and teacher, and one says school admin. Sorry, student and parent. Parent and teacher, student and teacher, student and teacher, student and teacher, and one says school admin. So you want the parent one, which is the orange one on the left-hand side. If you click on the orange one on the left-hand side, it takes you to that parent login page. And what you need to do is you need to click on create an account. The first time you do it, create an account.
Sorry, in the previous slide you mentioned the kind of expected grades, and you said GCSEs. What about sixth form? Do you have
Sorry, sixth form, yeah, sixth form exactly the same. Sixth form is exactly the same, except that they will have done what's called the ALICE tests, and they did that last Friday. So yeah, exactly the same thing, yeah. So you click on there, create an account, and it takes you to the login, and away you go. Okay. Before I start, I'm going to tell you what you want to know. Okay, because I've done this so many times, I already know what the frequently asked questions are. Here are the frequently asked questions. Number one, how accurate is the CAT score? You are sitting there going, how on earth do you tell what my child's GCSE results are going to be from a test they did when they were 9 or 10 or 11? Okay, that's one of the questions you're going to ask me. The second one, is the CAT score set in stone? So I'm going to tell you your child is going to get 5s and 6s, and you're going to ask me, really? How set in stone is that? Next thing is you're going to ask about what about behaviour and effort, and I'm going to talk about that because you want to know how well they're behaving and what their effort is. And as I've said already, we report all the other bits in the pupil, in the tutor email. Okay, so I'm going to answer those top 3 questions for you. If you've got any other questions, then I'm very happy to take questions at the very end. Okay, so baseline data. Every school, whether they like it or not, has to start somewhere. If you are in a state education school, if you're going to a normal comprehensive school, whether you like it or not, your baseline data is what's called the Key Stage 2 results. Now, obviously, for the last few years with COVID, that's been slightly problematic. But this year, if your child was to go to an ordinary state school, their baseline data will be the Key Stage 2 stats results. And every child in the country sits Key Stage 2 stats, whether they like it or not. So when your child goes on to a secondary school, the secondary school already has the target grade that they are required to get to, based on Key Stage 2 stats results. If your child has gone to a prep school, then those results would have been common entrance exams, and common entrance exams are passed on from prep school to secondary school, and away they go from there. Some schools use this thing called MIGIS, and MIGIS and CAT scores are very, very similar. We use what's called the cognitive ability tests, okay? And that's about the only joke you're going to get tonight, all right? So it doesn't matter what happens, you've got to use one of them. We have the choice of all 4 of those. We can use any of those. We don't use the Key Stage 2 results simply because not all of our pupils come from state schools. We don't use the common entrance exam simply because not all of our pupils come from independent schools. We have the choice of MIGIS scores or cognitive ability tests. The one we've gone for is the CAT scores for a number of reasons, but mainly because they work on an age-related thing rather than a year group-related thing. So as far as we're concerned, it's slightly easier to work with that set of data than it is with anything else. Okay, so that happens. So what happens is we get these minimum expected grades. And when these minimum expected grades come out, they are absolutely set in stone. We have no option at all. As a school, that's what we have to use, whether we like it or not. And at the very end of your child's GCSEs, we as a school are judged against your child's minimum expected grades as set up from the CAT scores. There's nothing we can do about that. So what happens is that the minimum expected grades are set, and your child, if all things are equal, should achieve those minimum expected grades. What we as a school say is that's not good enough for us. That's what a normal school would expect to do. So what we say is we're in small classrooms, we're in extra lessons in school, we're in a very, very professional situation. We should be doing better than that, and let's be honest, that's what you're paying for. So what we say is, our minimum aim is that we should add 0.5 across the board. Now 0.5 might not sound much to you, but if you go, the reason we chose that number was because if you went the other way around, if you were a normal state school, if you had a value added of minus 0.5, that would trigger an inspection because that's how bad that is. So we go, right, let's go the other way. Positive 0.5 has got to be very, very good, so that's what we aim for. So what that means is this: if your child sits 8 GCSEs and they have minimum expected grades of 5s across the board, What we would expect to happen is they would get 4 5s and 4 6s. That's what it looks like, okay? This year we got a value added of 0.8, which is outstanding. The year before we got a value added of 1.3, but we cheated. Of course we did, like every school in the country, because it was just teacher assessed grades, so no one's got to take a blind bit of notice of those. Same with the year before that. Year before that we got 0.5. The year before that we didn't get 0.5, and I had an awfully lot of explaining to do in front of the governors. We actually got 0.48. So we were very, very close, but 0.5 is where we are. If you ask Mrs. Bizior, her target is that we work to get that up to a 1. So every grade your child gets is 1 more than they should be getting if they went to a normal school. How accurate are those grades? I have no idea how this works. It's a series of tests that just test a child's academic potential. That's what they are. It doesn't ask you, what date was the Battle of Hastings or what is, it's just a weird set of tests. And they do it all, and out comes this. What the algorithm is that they use to turn that into minimum expected grades, I have no idea. If I had, I'd be a millionaire, because this is incredibly accurate. If your child is sitting on 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, please do not expect them to get 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9. It's not going to happen. The standard deviation, if you understand this thing, and I'm a statistician and I do, the standard deviation over the last 3 or 4 years, not the last 3 or 4 years, but before COVID, was 0.01 of a grade, which is ridiculous. I mean, that's so tight. That's really, really incredible. So how accurate are they? Very, very accurate. We'll talk a little bit about some of the areas where they're not accurate in a second, but generally speaking, they are incredibly accurate. Okay, so how can I ensure that my child remains on target for their expected grade? This is what we call academic tracking, okay? Now, before we start, as I said before, your child's grades are set in stone to start off with. Where are the possible inaccuracies? The possible inaccuracies are in PE, drama, music, languages. Those are the 4 key ones, okay? And these are all subjects that would have coursework. So PE, drama, and music are the 3 big coursework areas. And if you are coming in to do your CAT score, I can test your academic profile. I cannot test your footballing ability. So in the PE, 40% of the GCSE is practical. The same with drama, the same with musical. If you happen to be, part of the West Ham Academy for football, your GCSE grade is probably going to be pretty high. Yeah? It's probably going to be pretty high even if you're in the Tottenham Academy. We're nowhere near as good as West Ham, but you get the idea. It's exactly the same with music. If you are coming to us as a grade 7 violinist, it doesn't matter how low your academic profile is, you're still going to get a pretty good GCSE grade because musically you're brilliant. The same with drama. If you're dramatically awesome, but are not that clever in terms of your academic profile, then that's different as well. The other area, as I said before, is languages. It may be that you come to us with a fairly low academic profile, but your grandparent who you live with is a fluent French speaker and never speaks anything other than French. Your practical French is going to be pretty impressive. I think it's massively unfair that should be true, but it is true. So that's how it happens. But otherwise, if if you take those things out, you can be pretty certain that those results are going to be fairly accurate. So how do we track our pupils? The first thing we do is we move away from old-style school reports. Do you remember your school report when you were at school? Did yours look something like that? Because mine did. It genuinely did. I'm going to read some of these out, okay? Top one says, rural studies. A, 90%, excellent work. It means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. I have no idea what 90% relates to in terms of everybody else in the class. I don't know whether this person came bottom. They might well have done. Everybody else got 100%. I don't know whether this person got 90% and everybody else got 4%. This person is way. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. So we would never report like that at all. We don't use grades like A's, B's and C's. We don't use percentage even in exams. When we start reporting our exam results to you, you will not get your child's percentage from us. You will probably get your child's percentage from your child, but you won't get it from us because it doesn't mean much at all. You will only ever get a set of grades that relate to your child's bespoke education profile. Okay? We will tell you whether they are on target to get the grade they are expected to get. That's what we will tell you. We're not allowed to compare them to other pupils in the class. We're not allowed to give you a class results. We're not allowed to give you a running order. None of that stuff actually exists. The only thing that matters is how is your child doing compared to their own bespoke education. And that's what we will give you. It's just ridiculously unfair. You know, if your child comes third in the class and you know that, and you say to them, right, next term you have to be second, well, so the poor bloke who came second is going third now. And his parents are going to go, you were second and you are third. That's just disgusting. Well, it's not actually. It's only how they relate to them. And that's very much part of the school's ethos, that we're not comparing everybody to everybody else. We are only asking your child to do the best they possibly can. And that's part of the school ethos. What's the next one there? Art and pottery, B, 62, very good work. I don't know what 62's out of. It could be out of 63, could be out of 150, could be out of 620, don't know, no idea. Music, B, and I can't even be able to write anything about that. It doesn't tell you anything at all. My two favourite ones are the two at the bottom. Physical education, E. Gareth doesn't always enjoy the work, mainly through lack of physical success. A pity, as he's obviously given of his best. I just think that's really sad. The bottom one's even better. I'm not sure whether that stands for technical drawing A, or it just says, ta-da! I don't know, it's got no idea at all. So you won't ever see a report like that from Luckley. This is what you will see, okay? So let me talk you through what you're seeing here. What you're seeing here, down the left-hand side, is you're seeing the subjects. And down the right-hand side, what you're seeing is down the right-hand side, what you would see is you would see the teacher's initials. Okay, now I've taken those off because this is actually a genuine report that one of our students got. I've obviously taken their name off, but I've also taken all of their teachers off, so you couldn't possibly find out who this child was. In fact, it was about 3 years ago, so there we go. So what you're seeing is here. On the left-hand side, you're seeing what their GCSE minimum expected grade is. And you will see that from year 9 right the way through to year 11. If you're an A-level student, you will be seeing the A-level minimum expected grade as designed. You will not see that in year 7 and 8. And the reason you won't see it in 7 and 8 is because, and I'm going to tell you now, when you get your when you get your child's minimum expected grade, there is no need for you to share them with your child unless you want to, okay? You know your children at the moment better than we do. That will probably change academically fairly quickly, but at the moment, I'm not sure whether sharing that minimum expected grade is the right thing to do for your child. By the time we get to year 9, we have no option, because at year 9, that's when they're making their GCSE choices. They don't want to be choosing things they're not particularly good at. They want to be choosing the things that they're best at. So on the left-hand side, you may see them, yes?
Sorry, so when you get the CAT results, they'll come through to us in an email with a load
Yes.
of information. The kids won't get that.
No.
And if we choose to upload that into the Doddle.
No, you don't need to upload it into Doddle. It's already there in Doddle. This is a summary of a Doddle report. Okay. So this is not what you see in Doddle. This is the report you'll get at the end of every term. Okay. And it summarises what's been going on in Doddle. I haven't got to Doddle yet. Doddle is an ongoing thing that changes on a week-by-week basis. Okay? Now, if you want to share them with your children, feel free. We're not stopping you, but I know when I was 11, if you told me my minimum expected grade was a 6, that's what I would get for you. I wouldn't have done a morsel of work more than I absolutely needed to get my parents off the back, because football, rugby and cricket were far more important, okay? Now, some of you are smiling about that, and you know that that's what your child's like. However, if you'd have showed that to my sister would have gone, 6? That's disgusting. I'm going to get a 9 whether they like it or not. And it would have pushed her really, really hard. Don't actually have a sister, but you get the idea, yeah? And I know I'm being sexist with the boys and girls things. Some boys are like that, some girls are like that, and it's just the way it works. But it's entirely up to you whether you want to share them with your children. It's entirely up to you. So on the left-hand side, you'll see the minimum expected grade. The next grade along is the grade that they are currently working towards. Okay, now that's really, really important. That is the important grade. If you're year 7 and 8, that will just be coloured. It won't have any numbers in at all. But you will know whether they are working to their potential. Okay? Amber means they are working to or 1 above their expected grade. So this person here has got in English language an expected GCSE grade of 6 and is working towards that grade of 6 there, okay? So that's what amber means. And one of the things we say to the pupils is amber is the new gold. If you get a complete set of amber reports, you are doing well. That is absolutely fine. If this was a report on a year 11 pupil at Easter, those marks down the right-hand side, the coloured ones, would be very, very accurate, because we would have taught them their GCSE material for 2.5 years. We would have done mock exams with them. We would have done a whole load of assessments. I will know my pupils really well. That set of working towards grades will be incredibly accurate. In year 7, 8, and 9, it's not quite so accurate. We are giving you our professional opinion of how well your child is doing. And actually, we're pretty good at that. The red one means they are underperforming. They are underperforming by 1 grade or more. And as soon as someone is underperforming, you will almost certainly have had an email from the teacher before you get that report. One of the things I say to my teachers is no surprises. When you get that report, you should look at that and go, that's exactly what I was expecting. Maybe 1 or 2 things have been quite nice, but generally speaking, that was exactly what I was expecting. So the art and design teacher would have already written to the parent and said, this is what your child is on target to achieve. This is what they are not doing or what they are doing wrong. This is what I, as a teacher, would like them to do. This is what they, as a student, need to do. And this is what you, as a parent, can do to help them to do that. But the idea is that we get rid of all of those reds in the next school holiday. So if the art and design teacher here has said to the student, your portfolio isn't up to scratch, what you need to do is 6 pieces of extra work to put into your portfolio over the Christmas holidays. Dead easy. Sometimes, yeah?
You said it's 1 grade up. What do you mean by grade?
So our GCSE grades go from 1 to 9. Yep. So 1 to 9, so 1 is a fail, 2 is a fail, 3 is a fail, 4 is a pass. 8 is the old A star. 9 is the grade that they introduced a couple of years ago to pick up those really weird and wonderful kids who for somehow just go beyond an A star at GCSE. We will very rarely predict a 9, because actually half the time we don't know what that means. Seriously, for English, English results, someone reads it and goes, that's a 9. Someone else reads it and goes, that's a 4. Maths is a bit easier. If you got them all right, you're going to get a 9. But you know, that's how it works. But we won't always predict a 9 because it's very, very unusual. So this person should be getting a 6. They're actually on target to get a 5. So yeah, we'll provide that catch-up work for you before it goes too far. The green means that they are on target to achieve more than 1 grade above what they are predicted. So if they're predicted a 6, 6 and 7 gets them amber. 8 gets them green. And that's a really important thing to do as well. And I'll talk a bit more about that in a little while. But that's what the green one means. Okay. On the right-hand side, you've got what's called their attitude to learning. And there are 4 levels from attitude to learning. And this is purely me as a teacher, having taught your child for a whole term. I will tell you what their effort is like, what their behaviour is like, what their homework record is like, and what their organisation is like. B stands for below satisfactory, S stands for satisfactory, and as everybody knows, satisfactory is not really satisfactory. G stands for good, and O stands for outstanding. And again, I constantly, this is the thing you'll hear me say to my staff more than anything else, no surprises. So if I look at the top layer of that, top line of that, it makes it very easy for me to sit down with a student and say, you are underperforming. And I will tell you why you're underperforming, because you're not putting in enough effort. The effort grade there is B. And one of the things you're not doing is you're not doing your homework properly. That's B. If we get your homework sorted out and your effort sorted out, you will very quickly get back to a grade 6. So it's a very nice thing to be able to see there as well. If I look at the religious studies, where we've got 6 as a minimum expected grade and 8, it's nice and easy to tell why this pupil's doing so well. So I'll have a word with this pupil about their art and design, but I'll also have a word about the religious studies. Why is it you can be good in religious studies right the way across the board and be, outperforming by 2 grades, and yet your art and design is a bit of a nightmare? And we can have that conversation, and that's what I mean by no surprises. If you get a report ever that doesn't work, that doesn't match up, so, if art and design, their effort's outstanding, their behaviour's outstanding, their homework's outstanding, their organisation was outstanding, and they're still performing 1 below, you have every right to pick up the phone, talk to a teacher and go, if my child's doing everything they possibly can, what's going wrong? And the teacher will be required to answer. And if you don't get a satisfactory answer from the teacher, come to me and I'll get a satisfactory answer for you. Okay, it's really important that we get that right. So what happens if you do get a red? If you do get a red, as I said before, what will happen is the teacher will contact you and tell you how to get your child back to green, or what we're all doing together to get your child back to amber. If you get a green, first time you get a green, it's not you getting a green, your child getting a green, the first time your child gets a green, don't worry about it. They may have performed really well on a particular test. They may have done, put a lot of effort in. The teacher wants to reward them. They're getting the green first time. First time, don't worry about it. And I'll say to my staff, first time, don't worry about it. If this becomes a constant, that they are overperforming, what happens is I will say to my staff, right, guys, do we think we need to raise the minimum attainment grade, or the minimum expected grade? Do we need to raise that minimum expected grade? Now, that might sound strange because I've told you they're set in stone. They are absolutely set in stone for us as a school from start to finish. However, during the year, we can change them as often as we want. And one of the things that we find is that a lot of pupils get a real pleasure out of having their minimum expected grade raised. The effect of that is that if, for example, I raise this child's religious studies grade from a 6 to a 7, minimum expected grade, as a teacher, I will now no longer accept any work that is below a grade 7 piece of work. So what it does is it just helps us to put a little bit of pressure on those children who might be cruising, who might be strolling along and not sort of worried about anything, grades and stuff, and just be cruising along. It just gives us that opportunity to do that. Now, if we ever raise a grade, we will always do it in conjunction with you, me, the teacher, and the pupil. I get involved because I have an overview of everything. If I'm the maths teacher, if I'm the history teacher, and I think a child should be going up a grade, I will contact you as a parent. I will have talked to the child already, but I will copy me into the email to say, your child is doing really, really well. Would you like us to consider raising their minimum expected grade? And I get all those emails, and I immediately can say, this child's doing really well, and there's 6 teachers that want to raise the minimum expected grade. That's probably too much pressure on the child. Let's just pick 3 or 4 and see if we can do it, and then push the others up a bit later on. Okay? So, how does Doddle work with this? The way that Doddle works is that every time I do an assessment as a teacher, I will report the progress of the child on Doddle. And the reason we do this as a school is because I've never wanted to tie staff in to having to do this every half term or every 4 weeks or whenever it is. This is a live, regularly updated program, and staff have to do it 5 times a year, which pretty much is once every half term. However, what happens is it's slightly, it's not uniform because education is not uniform. I will only do this at the end of a unit. So here is a typical Doddle report from the Year 9 piece of work that I am doing at the moment with my maths group, okay? So what you have is you have 7 lowercase comments. And the lowercase comments are just the skills that the pupils have been taught during this unit, okay? And the first one says, I can compare distributions of grouped, discrete, or continuous data using mean, mode, median, and range. I don't know how much that means to you, okay? As a maths teacher, I know exactly what that says. Some of you might not recognise some of those words, but that's fine. And what I do is I rank the student, red, amber, green, irrespective of who they are, because either they can do that or they can't do that. Amber means they can do it sometimes, but they're not perfect. So red means they haven't got a clue what they're talking about. Amber means they're on the way to be able to doing this really well. And green means they've mastered this, okay? And as you see, I've ranked them down there, red, amber, and green, against all of those 6 lowercase comments. What you've then got at the top is an uppercase comment. And for you as a parent, this is the one that's the most important. Because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to rank my student in terms of their overall progress in this unit, okay? And again, it will be a red, amber, or a green rating. Now, this one is dependent on who they are and their academic profile. So if this child here has got an academic profile which gives them a minimum expected grade in maths of something like a 5 or a 6, do you know what? I'm happy with that. That is fine. There are some things they've mastered. There are some things that are amber that I know they're going to get when we come back and revise this for the end of year exam. There are some things that are red that they're never going to get. And do you know what? I don't mind that because you don't need to get those in order to get a 6 at GCSE. Okay? So that student there would have that profile with an amber rating at the top. However, you could have exactly the same red, amber, greens on the lowercase and get a green. If this student is got a minimum expected grade of a 4, that is awesome for that student. To actually understand the concept of Venn diagrams for a grade 4 student is seriously impressive. And I might be thinking, do you know what? This student might need to go up to minimum expected grade of a 5. That might be worthwhile looking at. So I might grade them green overall. But with exactly the same scenario, I could be grading them red. If this is a pupil expecting an 8, that's not good enough. At 8, you need to be getting at least all ambers, half of them greens and no red at all. Because if you're not getting this, you're never going to get an 8 at GCSE. So the lowercase comments are all to do with the skills, whether you can do them or not. The uppercase comments depend entirely upon your child's academic profile. Okay? There is also a Doddle app. You can log on to the Doddle app and you can get it downloaded to your phone. It looks a bit like this. We're too far away to see really, but that's what it looks like. It stops that awful question of when you pick up your child from school at the end of the day and you say, what have you done at school today? Oh, nothing. I beg to differ. And you can see that there as well. Have I got a slide that shows this? No, I haven't. The one thing that I've not showed there is that when it first comes up, and this is just genius. Okay, of all the things that Doddle does, this is absolute genius. You can see the red, amber, green little dots there. Sometimes you won't see a red, amber, green dot. What you'll see is a, what I call it, a little timer thing, a little, hourglass, an hourglass thing, okay? Because when I put my Doddle results onto the app, onto the programme, it takes 48 hours before you as parents see them, which is genius, because I say to your child, you've got a red in Doddle. No, my mum will kill me. You've got 48 hours to change it. And away they go, and they work really, really hard, and they do all sorts of stuff, and they come, I've done it. I'll test you, let me test you. You've done really well, let's change that to a green. So it's a really clever profile stuff there. So that's how the tracking works. Have we got any, that's a whistle-stop tour. The other thing I need to say is that I deal with this all day, every day. I understand this is the first time you're seeing this. I will tell you now, most of you will be coming back and asking questions later on. Not a problem. Seriously, not a problem. It's a really important thing for you to get. Have we got any questions to start with? Yes?
What does the homework recording fit in there?
Sorry?
Where does the homework show?
Okay, so when you go onto Doddle, I'll show you this in a second. I'm going to go live on Doddle in a second, and I'll show you how that goes. But when you as a parent and when a child goes on, the very, very first page on Doddle will say homework set for, and it will list all the homeworks, whether they're late or not, whether they've been completed or not, all sorts of stuff. So it's the first thing you see on Doddle when you go on. It's entirely up to you. I reckon if you go on once every... So you don't need to go on until probably the week before half term will be the first set of assessments that we tend to do around about that time. If you go on the week before half term, you should see stuff going on online. By the time you got to 2 or 3 weeks after half term, you should see something from everybody on there. One of the things I didn't say, sorry, is, again, you can't really see it very well, but I can see it because I know it's there. Next door to each comment is usually you'll find 3 little dots. And what that means is there's more comments to see. If you click on the next dot, the 3 little dots, it will open up and open up and open up, and you'll know when not to open up anymore when you see them. So I would say if you go on every sort of 2 or 3 weeks and just see it, then you can have a look at what's there. If you've got a subject that's missing, sort of 2 or 3 weeks before Christmas, if there's a subject missing, please email the teacher involved and say, why have you not updated Doddle? And copy me in, because I will be chasing them as well. To be fair, the way I do Doddle is that I've got a list of pupils. I've got about 20 pupils. They don't know this, but I've got 20 pupils, and by looking at their Doddle account, that covers every teacher. So I can tell which teachers have done it and which teachers haven't done it. So I'm normally pretty good to carry, but if I miss one out, please let me know. Yeah.
So is Doddle basically more for tracking, and is it OneNote, the other one you mentioned, is that more homework one?
No, okay, so, yeah, that's a very important thing. And again, give me a couple of minutes, I'll talk about that, and I'll get to that in a second. If I haven't answered that question at the end, please come back to me, yeah? But I think I will show you in a minute, yeah. No, your child would have done them when they sat their entrance test. Yes, taking the entrance exam. Yeah. It's one of the things we use as our entrance exam criteria. So yeah. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. One of the other things you know, and I'll talk to this. The CATS tests are a really useful baseline thing, but they're nowhere near perfect. And we do an awful lot of work with things like lucid tests, and with every time we do a set of assessments, and definitely at the end of the year, we are constantly looking at set changes within maths, English and science, because those are the 3 that are set. Nothing else is set because our classes are so small we don't need to. So yeah, but those 3 are constantly being changed.
Sorry, just to be clear, so if they've joined at 13 after common entrance, you're going back to a 9-year-old test, is that right?
And so not a 9-year-old's test. We would, when they come in, when they sit their original entrance test, that would usually be so talk me through when your child, have they been and done the entrance test yet?
Yeah, year 6.
So year 6, yeah. So,
Joined into year 9.
yes, that's fine. But again, I will say to you, it doesn't matter. Their academic profile doesn't. Their knowledge-based and their skill-based will massively change. But their academic profile doesn't change at all.
The setting is based on that as well?
And the setting, so if your child's coming in year 9, their setting is based on A, their CAT scores, B, their report from their primary school, C, they will have done this first half of term a assessment in maths, English and science, and we will look at all three of those. And they will also have done what's called a lucid test. And year 7s and year 9s all do lucid tests, which are sort of add-ons and goes a little bit deeper to explain what it doesn't change what the CAT scores are, but it often explains what the CAT scores are. And we can work with those as well. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on to get that right. And even by the time you're halfway through year 10, your sets are probably set properly. Definitely in English, because they're studying different books. Definitely in science, because you've got one group who are doing the triple science and you've got 3 groups doing the double science, and almost certainly in maths, because top set will be doing the further maths, and the lowest set will often be doing or some of the lower set will be occasionally doing the foundation paper if we think that's right for them. Just depends on the year group you're in, because some year groups have got a very high academic profile, some are different. Nothing is done that's not bespoke. We are very, very good at making sure we've got our pupils in the right place at the right time. And the interesting thing is, the top set in year 11 this year are not as academically capable as the top set in year 11 last year. So last year's top set year 11 maths all did the further maths paper. I'm not sure whether that will be the case for this year's year 11. We're pushing for it, and we hope to do it, but I don't want to push them under so much pressure that it does. So we're very, very flexible, but work very hard to get that right. Yeah?
You say they're only set for English, maths and science?
Yes.
That's pretty much the whole way through.
No, that is the whole way through. Yeah, absolutely. The reason for that is in year 7 and 8, they do all their other lessons in forms, in mixed ability. By the time you get to year 9, they've made a number of choices in terms of their technical subjects. And by the time you get into year 10, we've got GCSE groups. And GCSE groups are set according to programme, not academic skill. So we have 2 business sets in year 10, not because we don't have a top set and a bottom set. What we have is we have a set of business pupils who also do geography, drama and art, because that's what fits in, and the other set would be doing further maths, triple science and something else. So they're not set like that at all. And when you've got a set, most of our GCSE option groups are only 15, so you can't really set them. So yeah.
Going back to sixth form. So the predictive grading that you have, so one is what is set as part of CAT or whatever it is, and then you have the next one that says what is expected.
Yep.
Is it what you use when you apply to universities?
In universities, totally different. So universities, I don't want to waste everybody's time by talking about universities. Let's chat afterwards, but it's called UCAS grades. UCAS grades are grades that we agree with the student that they want, and we tell them how they're going to get there. If they get there, great. If they don't, then they're not going to get into university. So we have to make it aspirational, but realistic. Yeah. But it's called UCAS set of grades. Completely different set of grades. Very happy to talk to you afterwards. Okay. So let's just, how accurate is CAT scores? Very. Are they set in stone? Yes, for us, but not necessarily for the pupils. We change them all the time. What about behaviour and effort? That's what's the attitude to learning results are, and all the other bits are in there in the tutor report. Okay, let me just show you live, if I may, what Doddle looks like. I've got it set up ready. Okay, so that's what Doddle looks like. And as you see, this bit here says upcoming assignments. So that's the first thing you'll see, which are all the homework things. And once this is up and running, that's the first thing you will see. When I first joined Luckley, which is 8 years ago now, one of the things that I was brought in for was because Luckley as a school had no tracking system whatsoever. So I was brought in, and one of the first things I was told to do, go and get a tracking system. So I spent 2 years working out which was the best one we were going to use. And this Doddle one, in terms of tracking, was awesome. So we bought Doddle and we started tracking, and I suddenly found out, without trying at all, I became the most popular teacher in the school, that Doddle had bought a thing called BoardWorks. And BoardWorks is now embedded into Doddle. And what BoardWorks is it's, years ago, they brought out interactive whiteboards. And BoardWorks set up a whole load of resources for teachers to teach using interactive whiteboards. So behind Doddle are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of lessons, which your child has now got access to. So if ever they miss out on a lesson, they can just go onto this Doddle program and they can find all sorts of stuff for revision purposes. And one of the nice things about revision with Doddle is when people say, what do I revise? Go onto Doddle, find anything that's read and revise that. That's what you need to do for your exams program. So let me show you how this works. This is mine as a teacher. It's not the same as a student's. I don't think theirs says resources. I think theirs says search or find or something like that. But it'd be one of the sort of top ones up here. It's very, very obvious. But if I click on resources, what I can do is I can put in something. It doesn't matter what I'm going to do. So let's put cumulative frequency, because that's what I'm teaching my pupils at the moment. And when I hit return, what happens is it comes out down the bottom there with all sorts of resources on cumulative frequency. I can do it to Key Stage 3, which is years 7 and 8. I can do Key Stage 4, which is 9, 10, 11. I can do Key Stage 5, which is 12 and 13. It gives me all sorts of resources. And at the bottom, you see the sort of resources you've got. Now, what I can see that your children can't, you can't see any of this, by the way. And the reason you can't see any of this is because of the licensing. You know, some of you might be teachers who might steal this for your own classes. So you can't see this as parents, but pupils can. The only thing that I can see that your children can't see are the things that have got a tick by them. And those are tests. So if one of my pupils is struggling and doesn't get cumulative frequency, what I would do is I would do some more work with them. I can set them some work on Doddle. I can do all sorts of bits and pieces, and then I can set them the test on cumulative frequency, and providing they pass it, I can change it from a red to an amber or to a green. This one up here is a thing on cumulative frequency, which is flashcards and revision. This is a revision program. So this one down here with the sort of arrow is a revision program. This one here is a whole load of worksheets they can come and download. The one that's most useful is this one here that's got sort of like a presentation thing. If I click on this, you'll see what happens. What happens is it loads up and you've got this presentation on how to do cumulative frequency graph. And you can just go through that presentation on your own, in your own time. What it also does, yeah. Yeah. Yes. So what? So no. If you're in year 7, you absolutely can get to anything you want to. Yes. You can link whatever you want to. But if you're in year 7, one of the things I would tell them is just click on the Key Stage 3 stuff, because you don't want to be doing cumulative frequency graphs in year 7 necessarily. You might do. You might knock yourself out as far as I'm concerned. Go for it. But you might not want to. What this does, this will also contain a number of questions. So as the pupils go through, they answer the questions. And the really nice thing about it is, when they close it down, they're not allowed to close it down until they rate for themselves how well they think they've done. And if they fully understand it now, they'll give themselves a smiley face. If they're not too sure, they'll give themselves a straight face. If they haven't got a clue what's going on, they'll give themselves a sad face. And immediately they close it down, I get notified that they've done this and what they've said, so I can follow it up as well. It's a really great resource that you can have in Doddle. Okay, let's come out of that, go back into there. That's fine. Lovely. Go to the next one on. So we've talked about what happens if progress isn't relevant. So if they're underperforming, we'll provide the intervention work, or we'll move the minimum target grade. Sometimes, and just this is very unusual for a school to say this, but I'm absolutely convinced that this is the right thing. If your child is underperforming, and there is a really good reason for it, the last thing they need is a whole load of reds on Doddle. And what we will do is we are very happy. No, we're not very happy. But we will, without any doubt at all, drop a minimum target grade. Now, for us as a school, that's a nightmare because it comes, when we get to GCSEs, they're underperforming, it ruins our value added. But if that's what's right for your child's mental health, we will do that. So, for example, there's been the pet has died, or you've got to go abroad for a long time, or, last year, one of our pupils had their house caught fire, and that made a huge difference for 6 months for them, understandably. So if that's the case, please don't panic. Please just come and let me know. We can absolutely change a minimum target grade up or down. And if we move a minimum target grade up or we move a minimum target grade down, we can change it again in 6 months' time. It's really not a problem. The only thing we are, we're tied to is the original ones. And what works best for your children is absolutely paramount to us. So if you need us to change a grade, please talk to a teacher or talk to me as well. We've talked about Doddle resources. Let me talk very, very briefly about homework. In year 9 and above, homework is set according to the homework timetable. The homework timetable is on the parent portal. Please have a look at it. And by now, that should be well established in your child's psyche. They should understand what the hell it is. At the moment, it's all being written in homework diaries. Eventually, when we get to Doddle sorted out, within the next couple of weeks, it will all be on Doddle. If you have any problems with homework, please, please, please speak to your child's teacher in the first instance, but only do it once, because if there's still a problem, come to me. If you don't think a teacher is setting enough homework or setting too much homework, please let me know. One of the things I said in the homework thing is, if a homework is set for 20 minutes and your child works for 20 minutes, that's all they need to do. Okay? Just if they haven't finished it, you've got 2 options. You can either let them finish it because they're really enjoying it and they've got this sense of achievement and all that sort of stuff, not a problem at all. If they've got to a point where I can't do any more of this, I've tried my best, just put a note to the teacher. This person's tried their best. They've really worked hard for 20 minutes. Please, can you give them additional help? That's what we need to know. That's fine. Yeah.
So, sorry, I'm trying to find out a comparative. So I've got a year 9 as well. In the school he has uses the system on my phone. Little one, there's his homework.
Yeah.
There's a ticket who's been handed in. Do I go to Doddle?
To Doddle for that. To Doddle. Yeah. Okay. So OneNote is a filing system for teachers. That's what OneNote is. It's a very clever resource that we never used to have, and we always used to have it in my classroom, lined up at the back in nice big files. I've now taken all that and put it all online. The nice thing is I can share that with my students. So one of the things you might see on Doddle is history homework, see OneNote. Now, you cannot see the OneNote yourself because it's your child's OneNote. If you are worried about your child's history homework, you say to your child, show me your history OneNote. Now, all of our pupils are really au fait with OneNotes. They are really, really good, partly because of COVID. When we went into COVID, everybody in the whole school went straight onto OneNote. And OneNote is... Exactly. But now it's become part of the school. That everybody in the school uses OneNote, and your child will very quickly get into OneNote. But you'll need to ask them to see their history OneNote because we can't share that with you. Otherwise, you'd have 25 different OneNote keys.
But at the beginning, did you say we were still waiting for a code or something?
Yes, but I'll talk about no. So this is your child will not get history homework. Your child will only get in year 7 and 8 maths, English, science, modern foreign languages. That's all they will get homework-wise, plus the projects, and I'll talk about the projects in a second. Okay? So pardon?
You go to year 9.
Yeah, so year 9 and above, what they have got is they've got a homework timetable. So year 9 and above got a homework timetable. Go onto Parent Portal, and you will be able to see what they should be set each week. And by now, that should be happening. If it's not, as I say, write to the teacher once, and if you don't get a satisfactory response from the teacher, write to me.
And the specific task will be
The specific task will be on Doddle. So if I'm setting my maths homework for my year 10s, my Doddle homework will say, exercise 5.2, due in Tuesday. Dead easy. If I've set a piece of homework for history that is to do with the history coursework, what it might say is history homework, see OneNote. And then at that point, as a pupil, it's much easier for me to go to my OneNote because what's got there is all the resources I need to use for the research, the actual task written out in terms of the exam board specifications, and it's a project piece of work. So here's stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. And at that point, it's worthwhile sitting down with your child and going, okay, show me what that looks like. But it varies from thing to thing.
So where does Teams fit into that?
Okay. So Teams is the overriding thing which OneNote sits in. The big difference with Teams is that if I'm set up on a team, that allows me to do two things. Set up on a team means that I can have a Teams meeting, which is brilliant if your child is unwell with a broken leg. If they've got, flu and they're feeling rubbish, they really don't want to be logging into a Teams meeting to watch me as a maths teacher teach a lesson. If they've got a broken leg and they're bored silly and they can't move, it's really good. So I've got a child in my year 10 maths class who is stuck in Argentina because she can't get the visa or something, So she's desperate, going, help me. So she's online every single maths lesson. Brilliant for her. But within my team, I can then upload a OneNote. And the OneNote's got all the resources, and if I was a brilliant teacher, I'd have it all there ready for her. And some teachers are, I'm just not that good, unfortunately. Okay, but we get through it, and that's how it works. Yeah? So
I'm so sorry, I'm focusing on this quite heavily, but my year 7 is concerned.
Hold on.
About 3 different
Okay,
groups.
I'll come to year 7 in a moment. Yeah, but, okay. So that's year 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Okay? Right. Year 7 and 8. When I arrived, the biggest complaint I had from parents was to do with homework. I would get an email from a parent, this is absolutely genuine, I would get an email from, dear Mr. Vallance, please can you have a look at my child's geography homework? It is pathetic. It should be 20 minutes long, it took my child 4 minutes to do, please can you sort that teacher out? Lots of love. About 30 minutes later, I'd get another email. Dear Mr. Vallance, please can you have a look at the geography homework? It is pathetic. It should take 20 minutes. It took my child an hour and a half. It's the same piece of homework. And I just couldn't win. So what I did was I thought to myself, okay, are we doing homework wrong? So I went and did a whole load of research, academic research based on homework. And the academic research out there, feel free, knock yourself out, go and try it out for yourself, says this. The one thing, or the 4 things you need to be doing homework for are maths, English, science, modern foreign languages. Because those are the subjects that build on facts. So everything you learn from maths in year 7, you still need to know when you're in year 11. The same with science, the same with English, the same with modern foreign languages. Facts. For all other subjects, the facts really don't matter. So what I learn in geography in year 7, or what I learn in history in year 7, I really don't need to know factually in year 11, because the course is completely different. What I do need to know is I need to know the skills in those subjects. And the skills are what's important. The other piece of research was this whole thing about independent learning, the importance of independent learning. How do we train our children to be independent learners? And this whole thing of project work came out. So what will happen for your year 7 is, 1, the maths, English, science, and modern foreign language homework, when Doddle is up and running, will appear on Doddle. And they will be directed exactly what they need to be doing in Doddle. On occasions, it may say on Doddle, please see your French OneNote, but it will be on there. Those are the ones that happen on a weekly basis. If you're in year 7 and 8, when you look at your child's timetable, homework timetable, you will see that there is a timetable slots for projects. Every other subject in the school curriculum has set a project. And the project goes for a term. And what you will see is when we give you this OneNote key, the OneNote key will take you to the project OneNote. Your child has already seen the project OneNote because they have a lesson in Year 7s that talks them through how to do the projects and what the projects are all about. It will also tell you on that key, on that OneNote, the minimum number of projects you need to do. There is no maximum number of projects you can do. You can do as many of them as you want. The projects are brilliant. They really are brilliant because they are all set at 3 levels. Level 1, if you know anything about Bloom's taxonomy, if you're into education at all, it's all to do with Bloom's taxonomy. Level 1 project is just factual. Go and find out the facts. Watch this video, go to this website, do this, do that, do the other, and then write a report on it. Level 2 is much more analysis. As a result of seeing that, what do you think about this? 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 It's a much more difficult project to do. Level 3 is go and do something about it. As a result of seeing that, as a result of giving me your opinion, go and do something about it. And all of those are set up and they're on the OneNote, which you will get a key for. When you get the key, you will be able to see what the projects are, you'll be able to see the instructions, you'll be able to see your child's work. The projects are handed in to the teacher who's in charge of them, and the deal is that because they're termly projects, your child will get feedback in the OneNote, so you can see it as well, within a week after the first week of the new term. So at the end of this term, I as a teacher have got the whole of the holidays, plus the first week of the next term to mark them and send the feedback in. The point of that is this, loads of our kids love these. And in Year 9, when you come to do your options, you can opt for what's called an HPQ, which stands for the Higher Project Qualification, which is a GCSE. It's worth half a GCSE, actually. And that prepares them in Year 12 for the EPQ, which is the Extended Project Qualification. Universities love the Extended Project Qualification. If you get an A grade in your EPQ, then that reduces the level of offer you get from a university. So Southampton University, for example, if you want to go and do, what's the word I'm looking for? If you want to go and do Earth Sciences at Southampton University, usually you'd need an AAB. If you've got an A at EPQ, you need an ABB. It drops the level. Very, very useful, but that's miles away. But this is a 7-year plan to get this absolutely right. And when it works brilliantly. Yep, cool. Guys, that's as much as I needed to do. If you want to hang around and talk more, please do so. When you've got questions, not if you've got questions, when you've got questions, drop me an email. Very happy to sort it out. Any problems with homework or Doddle or reporting, straight to the teacher first. After that, come back to me.